Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Pine Between Two Skis. I'm your host, Trent Walker, and I'm here with the one and the only Austin Rose.
What's up, everyone?
Today we're going to be talking about skis. Really, we're going to be breaking down what makes a ski different from other skis, style, size, width, and then Austin and I are going to get into our favorite skis and what we ride personally so that you guys can see what would be good options for you.
Yeah, exactly. We really want to hit and nail down on this, how anyone can go into a ski shop, like we've said in other podcasts and videos, be able to understand what you're looking at and break down the options available today.
Yeah. So we're going to jump right into it and really talk about what skis are right for me.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's start with sizing, right? Sizing is a big one, and each ski can be a little different. So how do you approach sizing?
Yeah, so sizing can vary, right? And here's the thing about skiing in today's age is we used to have certain rules, right? And I always like to refer back to like the 1980s skis where you were measuring a ski by taking your arm, sticking it up above your head and trying to like touch the top of the ski. And if you could cap your hand over the top, you said, yep, this is the right size, right? Since then, it has changed drastically, right? Sizing is going to vary depending on multiple factors, really how aggressive you ski and how fast you want to ski, and then what style of ski you're riding, right? Now, for the typical rider or a beginner rider, we are talking about skis that are generally going to perform better on the groomed slope. We're going to size a beginner level skier, somebody who's just getting into it. The tip of the ski should be right about chin level, right about your chin height. So you just stand up next to the ski and see where it measures on the body. That's a great way to measure your first ski out. To get something a little bit more intermediate, you're generally looking up so the tip is striking about nose level. And then anywhere eyebrows and up would be something for someone who wants to ski a little bit more aggressive. Now that particular form of sizing is more based on a parabolic groomer style ski setup, right? As you move into skis that have more rocker to them, different designs where they pull back and it actually gives you more float, what we do is we actually measure the ski based on its contact point where the edges touch, right? Now, this is something that's really easy to see visually. If you look up a video or you just pull your skis and you flex them together and just look where that point is that the edge starts peeling away from itself, that's where we want to measure. And you can take that similar to the same way you would measure the parabolic ski and say, well, where the edge starts to peel away, where's that hit near my chin? Is it here hitting more middle of my face, or is it going anywhere above?
So really what you're saying is where the rocker begins can also be an indicator of size.
Exactly. That's a great way of putting it.
Awesome. So we have some good sizing options here. So now let's jump into width. How do I know how wide a ski is?
Yeah, it's a great question.
That I need, a ski width that I need.
Right. So, when it comes to width, I like to stray away from talking about like, oh, this is perfect for the beginner or the intermediate or the advanced skier. Generally, beginner skiers are going to learn on a width that's a little bit smaller underfoot. Now, we use the term underfoot when measuring skis in the industry. It refers to the width directly underneath your foot, right? So middle of the ski where you would place your foot in the mount position. Now, generally speaking, beginner skiers are going to be ranging anywhere between 60 to 80 millimeters underfoot, right? And that's give or take here. That's going to be generally what you're looking for there. As you decide how you want to ski and what type of ski you need, that's really what's going to change and determine what width you want, right? Mm-hmm. So we can move in and we can talk about breaking this down as we move on to the different style of skis. We'll start talking about how that waist width correlates to it. However, to give you a general breakdown, we're looking, a narrow ski that's going to carve better and be easier to turn. That's going to be something on the smaller side of the width scale, right? So we're talking like 60, 80 centimeters or millimeters underfoot, mm-hmm. right? As we start moving past the 80s, 85 to 100, we're starting to look on something that's going to be a little bit tougher to start putting on edge. You're just going to notice you need a little more leverage, right? And then as we go above 100, you'll notice it takes a significant amount of more leverage to get that edge to bite on a groomed slope trail, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you get off into, powder's a surface area game. So that's where you would want that wider ski of width.
Right. And one thing I like to point out here too is men's skis versus women's skis when it comes to width. I almost like to take the men's ski and subtract 10, and you'll get the same performance from a women's ski.
Right.
So, for example, if we're talking all mountain skis in the 100 waist width, a women's ski in a 90 waist width, because women are generally lighter, they're going to get the same performance out of a 90 millimeter as a 100, or it falls into the same category.
Definitely. Right. And that's perfect, especially for when we're talking a base of knowing what width you want to order, right?
Yeah.
Or you want to get. As you start skiing these other skis, you will start to find which ones fit to your style that you like, So that's not to say that, a guy could ski a smaller ski, or a girl shouldn't ski a bigger ski in width, right? It's more you'll start getting used to it, but that's a great way to measure how to look for, especially as you're starting to understand these.
Right. And you really got to look at yourself, right? Like if I'm a ripping lady, right, and I want something that's 105, right, then I'm going to do it. And it's going to be great,
sure.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think we should also add here through multiple times in the ski shop. I know a lot of people are scared of width.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to take it out of this beginner, intermediate, advanced range when we talk about, you need to be an advanced skier to ski wide skis. That's actually very false. I think it helps, of course. However, the width of the ski is really actually can be very helpful to many skiers. Now, I don't suggest going out and buying your first powder ski if you just started skiing and it's your first time on the slopes, because it's going to be hard to learn how to turn on that smooth surface. But for somebody who has skied and you're looking for something to size up, maybe it's your next ski, it's your next level, and you want to step up, don't be afraid to go a little bit wider than what you first thought. Yeah. You may say, I'm skiing a 70, so next step is an 80 or 85 millimeter. I wouldn't be afraid to jump up to that 90 millimeter range. You're really going to get a feel for how that differs on the ski, but it's also going to add stability. So you can actually ski a little more aggressive with a little more surface area.
Yeah, and you'll feel a little more comfortable off-piste or off the groom trails.
Exactly.
So now let's jump into style, right? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but break down the style. What are we looking at?
Right. So style of skis, there are quite a few on the market, but we have like a basic understanding of what we can categorize a ski as, right? The first that I always go to is your parabolic groomer-oriented ski, right? I call them groomer skis, but other people might call them something different, like a race ski fits in that category.
Or like a front side.
A front side ski is a perfect one to say, right? An on-piste ski is another term you'll see, especially on companies from out of the country. Mm-hmm. Now, this is that ski that refers to that traditional like hourglass figure, where you have a little bit wider, like thick tip and wider in the tail, but the waist is very narrow, right? And that's to really gear that skier towards being able to make tighter turns, tighter carves. And we also put a lot of beginner skiers in that category. Now we have a beginning through advanced skis for on-piste skis, no doubt. But we do have a lot of easier skis will start in that category because it's helpful to learn how to turn.
Awesome. Right. So now explain the next step up, right? Freestyle oriented skis. What do those look like?
Yeah. So that next step of a freestyle ski is really just, I think of it like a next step, right? What do we want to do after we learn the front side, after we learn how to ski on smooth surfaces, right? Generally, that means we want to start learning how to go through bumps. We might want to touch the trees a little bit. We may want to go through the crud, right? And as we talk about crud, referring to, bumpy trails, things that aren't like plowed by that big snow plow, that big groomer. Being able to have control in those areas is where we're going to look for these freestyle skis, right? Now, this also ranges from a freestyle ski to what they call like a free ride ski. Kind of falls right after that. You'll tend to see the freestyle skis we are the skis that are going to perform great, still good on the groom slopes, but they're also going to give you more control in those other conditions.
Right.
Right.
Awesome. So we've got front side, freestyle. Freestyle, would you say park falls into freestyle?
So I'd say that's when we start hitting that like free ride ski, right? I
Okay.
think that's what they call it. It's a new term because we used to put this category of ski in freestyle.
Yeah.
And then they started saying, no, we want to actually create a whole nother category to help differentiate between a skier that is learning how to have more fun off the groom slope and a skier that already has that skill level to ski off in the groom slope.
Okay.
Right. And that's where we start seeing those twin tip skis. We start seeing skis that are moving into the like past the 90 millimeter into the 100, 105, 110 range of underfoot width. Right. That's going to really gear you towards having performance in, soft snow, ungroomed snow conditions that are going to be a little more unpredictable. Right. So you're going to get that stability, but you start moving towards having that twin tip style or just more tail rocker. That kind of stuff helps allow you to make quicker turns in the trees where you're not gripping an edge as hard, things like that. And we see the park skis in here as well.
Okay, awesome. So next would be like your powder ski.
Yeah.
What classifies a powder ski, and is it always waist width that classifies a powder ski, or what is it?
Yeah, not always just waist width, but this is like one of my favorites. We love talking free ride and powder, and that's a big thing in Utah because I maybe touch a groomer ski once every season,
Right?
Right? But that's just because of my ski style. Again, I'm looking to get away from people.
Right.
Right. So when we talk about a powder ski, the powder skis are going to they generally classify first with the width and second with the design of the ski. The first part of width we're talking is 110 and above is really where we're looking for powder skis.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in that like 120 range, you're in a solid powder ski, or 115s with like a lot of Rossignol skis have fallen in that category. Those skis are really going to give you the surface area you need to float in powder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, powder is always a surface area game, right? The more surface area you have underneath, the more likely you are to stay on top of the snow. It's fun as you get into this, though, that you learn that the technology in the ski helps keep the tips of a powder ski up afloat, so they have more of that rocker pullback we're going to talk about in the front of that ski, and oftentimes they'll have a little bit in the back of the ski as well.
Awesome. So now that we've hit those, one thing I wanted to touch on is then there is the blend or the combination of these different styles. So like one that comes to mind, like a blend between front side and freestyle would be like the Line Blade.
Yeah.
Right. Like narrow waisted ski, but the tip of that ski is like 154, which is so wide.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It is one of the coolest skis, and people have really been able to do a lot with them. It's a whole new like area for itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that tip is wider than the dimensions of a powder ski at the tip, which makes it really cool to check out. So if you haven't seen the Line Blade, just look it up on the internet.
Yeah.
And it is pretty sweet. So,
or you even get into skis like I'd say like the Line Outline.
Yep.
That is something that mixes this true powder ski with, or even like the Sir Francis Bacon, like a true powder ski with almost like a park ski, because they're soft, but they have like great tip technology, which makes them float really well.
Right. And that's where I really pull out that free ride category.
Mm-hmm.
Is that these skis that are unique, they blend this powder oriented design into a smaller underfoot ski, or something that can really give it the versatility. They also grab different edge contexts and camber, from something that might be in a freestyle category, and they just mesh them together and they work really well,
Right.
And that's where we see, Solomon's got their QSTs, the blanks that are a 112, I'm going to talk about that as one of my favorite skis here in a bit.
That ski's awesome.
But skis that are able to perform in all conditions, but really, geared towards that getting off the groom slope style ski.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So now let's talk about rocker and camber briefly, right?
Yes, we have to touch on that.
Yeah, exactly. And how much we want and what it will do for these different styles.
Yeah. Now, like I think we have said before, check out our YouTube video on this. These, rocker and camber is something that is better explained visually than over words, right? But it is very important to have just a basic understanding of rocker and camber as you're looking to buy a ski. All right. So the first I always talk about is camber, right? And camber is really that design that I like to explain like an arch or a rainbow. When you see a rainbow, you see it's got this arched pathway. And what's underneath the rainbow, like if you were to go the center of the rainbow is the highest part, right? And then you have that gap of space underneath. So we do that to our skis the same way. It's not going to be as drastic. You're not going to see it as much. But if you were to take a cambered ski and lay it on a flat table and you look, you'll see that the center of the ski does not touch the table, right? It lifts off. It's bending and arcing above that. Now, camber has multiple of benefits that it brings to skiing, and that is the traditional style. And, Trent, why don't you name off some of the benefits we have there? I mean, they're pretty cool.
So you're going to get more edge hold the more camber that you have. You're going to have more effective edge, which is what we use to brake or stop, slow down. You're also going to have more play or spring off that ski when you move from one turn to the next turn.
Right.
Those are some of the benefits of camber.
Right. Yeah. It's really cool because, even talking about anyone that's been snowboarding before or looking at snowboarding, we are mainly a ski podcast, but I always like to bring this up because, there's no reason to not include snowboarding when talking about the stuff that cross the barriers.
Right.
So that camber, like you talked about, it really brings an energy to the ski. Mm-hmm. And what it does is as you flex into it, it pushes that ski down into the snow and activates it, right? And then what happens is as you're going between a turn and you start to relieve the pressure off of that ski, it's actually going to push against the snow and back at you. So it actually helps you jump between turns.
Yeah.
Right? It also helps you engage a better edge because as you're flat and digging into a hard turn, it's actually going to be digging that tip and tail in tighter using basically like a leverage system, right? And that's just going to help that ski with all sorts of deals,
Yeah. And so that skis that have the majority or are constructed with more camber, that would be like your front side skis, right? Yep. So you have lots of edge hold. And then as you move from front side into powder, you start to lower the amount of camber and gain more rocker.
Definitely.
Rocker is just being the opposite, right? It's like a boat shape.
Yep. Or like a banana. If you set it on the ground, it only has 1 point touching.
Mm-hmm. So explain rocker briefly, and then let's talk about the blend of those and what they can do for us.
Definitely. So rocker, also called reverse camber, right? We use the nickname rocker in the industry more than you might see if you were to do woodworking, right?
Yeah.
So rocker is, like we said, it's imagine a boat shape, right? Where you'll notice that it might be flat or touching at the midpoint of the boat, but then it's arcing up as you get towards the front of that boat. Same with like a banana or anything with that reverse shape. Take a rainbow or take an arch and flip it upside down, right? And then you got your rocker.
Yeah.
The benefits of rocker, like Trent said, are you're going to notice more and more as you gear off the groom slope, right? And you're going to see these in the freestyle skis. You'll start seeing them in the tip of a freestyle ski. You'll start seeing them in the tip and tail of the free ride skis, and you'll notice a great amount in a powder ski. The reasons for that are that the rocker in a powder ski specifically is going to help direct the snow underneath the tip. So it keeps that tip raised. So if you're going through deep snow, as that center of the ski sinks underneath, the tip is still above the snow, directing, a flow underneath the ski to help keep you lifted above so you're not sinking. But it also shortens your camber points, which are your points where the edge contacts the snow, right? So it makes it easier to do a quick side stop. It makes it a little bit smoother to be able to kind of flip around. So that's why we see them in park skis, freestyle. It shortens just that contact point. Now, as far as a turn radius, generally we like to have a little bit of blend of both. But you'll notice, on a strict race ski, they're not going to have rocker on that ski, either a minimal or no amount, because having that majority edge contact is going to give you a sharper turn, right? So difference between a smaller turn and a sharper turn, a tighter turn. Right.
Awesome. So now let's talk about some blends. We kind of touched on it, right? So front side race skis, they're going to have loads of camber.
Yep.
Then you get into your freestyle, you start getting more rocker on the tip and the tail. So what can you expect when you have rocker in the tail and the tip?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and we also want to make sure we mention, which we haven't before, what a full rocker ski does. There's a lot of interest in those as of late.
Yeah.
So the blend of camber rocker gives you the best of both worlds, right? You get that energy from having a cambered ski. Even if you're in powder, you'll notice that those powder skis still have camber on a lot of them. You're going to get that energy as you stand on the ski and it flex into the snow. It's going to allow it to perform in variable conditions. So that's why you have a ski that can ski the entire mountain still, right? But having that blend is going to allow you to be a more versatile skier. It's going to give you that ski that can really touch different areas of the mountains. And I apologize if you hear my dog there. She loves to talk ski, so I always bring her with me when I go to talk podcasts with skiing with Trent. So yeah, that's going to be like the numerous benefit of having a blended ski. When you'll see snowboards do different blends as well, that give you that same style of benefit there.
Yeah. So now that we've broken down everything, I really want to talk about our favorite skis and what we like about their blends and their styles.
Yeah.
So let's have you start. We'll maybe do one or two each.
Right. Let's do it. I'll start, and I'm going to throw it back to you after. I want to hear Trent talk a little bit about his Devastators. It's got to be on his list because we missed the little full rocker, and that is a full rocker ski. So we'll make sure to include that. So my favorite ski, got to talk in, ranking. It's hard to rank them. That's top of number one for me. I like to start with the QST blank, right? Big Solomon fan of their QST series. I've ridden them almost every year since they've come out with one.
Yeah.
And that QST blank is the newest design of bridging between a full-blown 120 powder ski and their 106 series, right? And so that one hits right about 112 on that waist width, right? Which generally you would think this is a powder ski, right? But what they do with the blank series compared to their 106 is they actually go up in the amount of rocker in the tip and tail of that ski. It's a little more evenly balanced. And by doing that, it almost gives it the shape of like a park ski, but with the ability to ski all mountain, right? So you take this ski that's got more width to it, and you're able to make quick swivel style turns. It feels kind of buttery underneath, and buttery is that term of it. It flexes into the snow really well. It's going to be able to give you that performance as you go, like off the groomed slopes. I mean, man, that thing in the trees is a blast. And you're going to think, oh, why would I take a wide ski in the trees? But this ski just handles it, right? You're able to really lean into it on turns. I mean, I think I carved that ski like a race ski more than anything else I've ridden, and I just loved it. And, you also got to go for the looks on that one too.
Yeah, straight white.
For me, a straight white
Super
ski
clean.
With that beautiful like rainbow blend underneath, almost like a graffiti style of color. It's just, that thing is showing off.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So I'll take it for the next one.
Yes.
Like Austin said, I love my forefront Devastators. And the thing they changed the construction 2 years ago, and they made them lighter. But this ski is a full rocker or flat. It's a 108, right? And what that does for you is off piste, it makes it so that you're able to really slosh your turns. You're able to get that thing to smear and pivot and maneuver really well. And then on the groomed runs, it can still lean over, and though it doesn't have camber and that bite and that energy like we're used to, it is able to still get on its edge. And when you're over on your edge, you still have a good amount of effective edge, which is really cool. One of my favorite things about it is when I'm going down a groomed run or even in the trees or anything, just how easy I can pivot and smear it. There was one time I was skiing with Austin and I had passed him, and then I passed this group, and I wanted to look back and see if Austin had passed this group as well.
Right.
And I pivoted. So right now I was looking straight down the mountain. Now I'm looking 90. Perpendicular. Yep. Yeah. And I look up the hill and I see Austin still coming, and then I'm able to shift back down straight. And because it didn't have any camber, it just smeared up and smeared down, and I didn't lose any speed or anything.
Minimal loss of speed, and it's quick.
Yeah.
It's like a 1 second, just swivel, check, go.
Yep.
Right? It's awesome.
With that lack of camber, though, and with all these suggestions, these are what Austin and I like. Someone else might get on these skis and be like, these are awful.
Right. You definitely need to know the difference of rocker camber, right? Mm-hmm. So having that full rocker ski, like Trent is saying, is really cool because it gives you that smearing feeling of the ski. You don't catch your edge, right? It's you still can carve, like you can still have quick like turns and put the ski on edge, but that carve feeling isn't going to be what that traditional ski would feel like. Right, it's instead of being able to push you into your next turn, it's going to gently like pull you back in place.
Yeah,
but that's where it ends. And, they almost feel a little dead, right? And when you get on one, you're like, oh, I understand the alive and kind of dead energy feeling here.
Yeah,
right.
And what you can do as the skier, to get that ski to come alive for you.
Exactly, it opens a whole new door of possibilities.
Oh, absolutely,
which is why we love it. You know,
it's a great ski.
Yeah.
So were there any others that you can think of come to mind?
Yeah.
We touch on one more?
Yep. I definitely, I want to hit, some other categories as well, because we've talked a lot about the free ride ski. So I want to hop into a ski that is going to hit freestyle, almost more like a groomer style ski, right? Now, one of my favorites and a brand that I really like, which is Blizzard skis.
Okay.
This is the Blizzard Brahma 88, right?
Right.
Now, you'll hear a lot of different talks on it. The Blizzard Brahma is really cool because it gives you a traditional feel to a ski that is going to be built with a different kind of construction. So this ski is going to be camber underfoot, cambered ski, 88 millimeters directly underfoot, and I like to ride this in a 180 length. I'm about 5'11". I like it to be a little bit taller to give me a little more length, stability at speed. The real unique part about this is the camber with the little bit of rocker in the tip is very minimal. I call them a gradual rise camber, gradual rise rocker, and a very gradual camber. So the ski is still going to give you that nice even pull back, like we talked about with kind of a rockered ski. It's going to be using a full metal top sheet, so it's going to pull you nice and evenly with stability back into a ski position, but you still get the benefit of camber, that grip on the ski. This ski I took local here in Utah to Brighton on what I call Bluebird Groomer Day, right? Some nice, easy day, not really looking to go off in the trees because the snowpack just wasn't there. I had one of the best times skiing on this ski.
That's awesome.
Right? Blew me away. Took me back to that day of like when I was a beginner skier again. And I just loved every turn, right? This ski will just hold a steady edge. You always feel like you're in control and you can push this thing as hard and fast as you want, right? I also had one of the worst crashes that day because I went too hard loving this ski.
I knew a guy in Steamboat. He's probably 70 and he taught skiing. And that was his daily driver.
Really?
He always had that ski. It. Yeah. And even on like deep powder days, that was his ski. And he could make that thing do whatever he wanted. It really is a tremendous ski. So that's a great one to bring up.
Yep. And great for all skill levels. That's
Yeah.
why I like to throw that out there. Especially that intermediate skier is going to love this ski.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that'll be where we're going to wrap things up. But I think we hit some pretty awesome points. We're able to make sure that we've helped you guys understand what size you should be looking for, what waist, and what style. So if you want to learn more, check out our website. Check us out on social medias. Give us a like and drop a 5-star review, and journey with us further into the pine.